we put this in a very short notice, so thank you very much for everyone coming here. So thanks. We have here Dustin from the North Farm. He's our agronomy North Farm, so he's the one behind making sure that everything is happening. So thanks, Dustin, for helping us to facilitate this. We have different people in the room. I will introduce very briefly what we are thinking on doing. This is part of a global food system project that we put together last year. And our main intention was trying to bring different faculty from different colleges, departments together to try to showcase research, technology, and also focus on education. So many of students on the room. So we want to get more students, more people from campus really exposed to digital agriculture and what is K-State doing on this. So today you have a flavor of what's going on digital ag on campus. We have multiple people, faculty from different departments. I don't want to forget, so I will probably ask everyone just to briefly, all the faculty from the department. So we have a different table. So Dr. AJ Sharda is also part of the team. So this was the initial idea that we had with him and Bara and Brian, many people, Anita too. We have multiple people that we kind of tried to see how we can put people together. So for us, at least for me, it's a great day to see that we are trying to make this happen and moving forward opportunities for digital agriculture in campus. AJ also has the same kind of a vision the last several years of trying to bring people together. So he has a table there. So for you guys, if you want to stay around and go and visit and play. So he was already playing with thermal cameras, so very fancy. Brian McCormack, department head of entomology, also helping Trevor Witt. I mean, that is the main guy, the main operation guy. Yeah, he's I appreciate that. So we'll have many opportunities if you want to go around and look at drones and stay. We want to do, the overall idea is just to, Trevor will show a little bit about a drone fly, like at 10 minutes outside. And we'll have also at some point we will switch very quickly. You will be seeing some of the video footage that he's collecting here on this screen. So we will probably try to tackle that in 20, 30 minutes. And then my main goal after that is like for all of us just to have an open discussion. I want to make sure everyone that is working on drones or they want to start working more on drones, they touch base with all the different research faculties. We have many students here that probably even thinking about future work on agriculture, so I think that is in digital ag, so that's an opportunity and to touch base with people. So we will keep it very, very flow and flexible at the end. I want to also emphasize some of the things that we have here from Salinas. So at some point, I want to make sure that we give some time for them to talk a little bit about this and make sure that we showcase them too. I mean, they have been very instrumental in helping us on getting pilot training license. And all the regulations and everything, insurance doing well. So it's very instrumental, people from Salina helping on guiding and leading all the drone research. With that, I think, Trevor, it's all yours.
Yeah, great, thank you. So, yeah, we're gonna start out with just a really simple flight demonstration. What I have here is a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. When I've spent a lot of time consulting and working on the most basic side of drones and imagery capture to the high-end flying the large multi-rotor systems like that, capturing hyperspectral imagery. So I've experienced the full spectrum, kind of pun intended there. But I always like starting with the most simple use case first because the most simple is the easiest to implement, it's the lowest cost, and it sometimes has the greatest value to ending up what you want to do. So what we're going to kind of simulate here with this flight demonstration is using this as a tool to get an aerial perspective of crop conditions. And so my early work with Dr. McCormack was looking at sugarcane aphid infestations. And so as a farmer, you may go out to the field, look at the field, you've got 60, 80, 100 acres, and you'll check it from the road. And you go, hey, it looks good. But what if there's an infestation happening way back off the road? It would take way too much time to go walk out there and look at it. Versus using something like this, you can pop it up in the air, fly it out there, and you can get an essence of what the field condition is in that 5 minutes you would have spent already just inspecting the border of the field. So that's what we'll look at. Before we fly, quick things to highlight. Ignacio said a good thing about what Salina is awesome with is the pilot training side of things. So in order to operate one of these for research purposes or for a business purpose, you have to be certified from the Federal Aviation Administration, of which I am. And you got to stay current on all that. And then there's a chunk of other regulations we got to follow. So it'll be just a really short flight. We'll probably stay all out here on the concrete, and then I'll fly over the crops out in front of us between us and the football stadium. So I also have these goggles, which we can pass around. And right now they're set up to stream through this camera, and it will follow your head. As you move around, the camera will move. Some people say, oh, that's just kind of a cool toy, but it actually has a practical use in scouting, because it can be difficult to see your phone screen if it's a bright, sunny day. Your head's under the goggles, you can actually see quite a bit more than trying to peer into that screen. So, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to take this out, and you guys can all follow me, and we'll go fly. We can also go down fairly close off the canopy, and you can see there, with these smaller ones, they're not going to, the smaller drones don't tolerate wind as well, so we can fly up to about 25 miles per hour, 20, 25. It really struggles in that much. But this sort of wind, it's good. You can see there, it's disturbing the canopy a little bit, but if I go up a little bit more, there we're a couple meters off the canopy. And if you looking on that headset, and once we get inside, you can kind of see how much detail for that. So one of the regulations that we were mentioning is you have to fly this within visual line of sight. So I have to be able to see that system and be able to control it. When it's something this size, that's really only about a quarter mile, if you're being honest. Some of the larger ones, you can get up to half mile and still be able to see it fairly well. And that's where the larger system that Salina has, what they're working on is that beyond visual line of sight. So being able to fly these systems over larger areas and further distances. Also, this system that wasn't on some of the older ones is obstacle avoidance. To say, hey, you're coming up on something in front of you or behind you, as a warning to stay away from it. So we were talking about, this is all digital agriculture and technology integration and all these great things. So the way I'm sharing my screen is through a Zoom meeting. So I've got a Zoom meeting going on my phone to the laptop. I'm going to share my screen off the phone so then everybody can see what the screen looks like over in there. And I tested it before and it worked. So, but that's what, working with this technology, I've developed what I call a healthy distrust, or a trust but verify, all the time with this tech. So we should be ready to go there and look in the screen on there. I'll look at, hey Brian, hey, it's working, cool. So we'll go back over in there and I'll fly around some more so you can see the screen.
Actually, they look at hot canopies or cold canopies, depending on if you want to select plants that they can maintain the temperature and they can do more transpiration, because usually will transpire more, versus some plants that they will basically don't do that. So there is a trait that is called limited transpiration. So there is another thing that is coming from the thermal side that is extremely relevant. So AJ is working on his side.
We'll touch on a real quick aspect. We kind of talked through the more simple use, and then talking with Ignacio and AJ's work of getting a little bit more complex, of using drones to create maps and then doing different types of analyses over that kind of data. So preparing for this, talking with Brian, he's like, I recorded a 20-minute long video kind of walking through my project that I'm working on with him right now. He's like, what are the 3 most important things you want people to get out of that? So here are my 3 most important things. One is, why are you even collecting the data? Like, really having a good understanding of like what's your intention of collecting that data and how complex does it actually need to be to accomplish your solution or your research question. The other one that I got from Trevor, who's on another Trevor on my committee, is how are you going to analyze the data? Like, thinking about that before you even start is really important. And a lot of times with my project, I didn't have that figured out when I started. But now that I've got a better statistics background and taking that into okay, what's my data processing pipeline to get to that end analysis? And then the third one is staying organized, because you produce a lot of data with this. I think each field season with my wheat project, so I'm looking at Hessian fly resistance in wheat, I'm about 0.5 terabyte a season. So staying organized, organizing your files properly, naming everything in the same convention so that then you can explain it and work with somebody else is really important. So I'll be around for answering questions. Everybody will be around for answering questions at their tables. I'm remoted into my hefty machine back at our lab right now with some of the maps that I've produced. So this is a piece of software used for combining overlapping images together to create maps out of. And then I've got those maps that then we look at our different treatments on. And then it all comes down to, it's kind of interesting, you've got all this technology, all this really cool tools that you're able to use. And honestly, it comes down to these tables in the middle of just comma separated value tables that then you apply an analysis technique to. And so yeah, you've got all cool drones and cameras and all this sort of stuff, and it's just a text file in the end. But that's really where you start to extract meaningful information from. So
maybe before we get too far, I mean, I also want to see if Kurt, if you can tell us a little bit about, Salina is always moving forward the university in terms of new technology. So I want to have the opportunity at least to talk a little bit about, I'm seeing this and I want to know, okay, what are you using this for? How are you using it? If you tell us a little bit more, I think that is extremely relevant.
So I mean, we've got a range of different platforms. We tried to bring the ones where we think that there's agricultural relevance. So that's what this EB is, a little bit of an older piece of equipment, but still relevant. Can fly multispectral sensors and pull down some good data. And then we've got some of the newer stuff. The larger airplane, it's a multi-rotor hybrid, is what we call it. As far as where the industry is headed on UAS, and you think about package delivery, and the new buzz term now is advanced air mobility, which is that's going to lead into the flying Ubers. It's technology like this that's going to evolve into that. This is, all of these systems are electric, no liquid fuel. The advantage of the larger platform is it can fly for longer amount of time. The manufacturer will tell you can fly for up to about 4 hours with that platform. There's pros and cons. With the fixed wing, you get more efficiency, so you get longer endurance. With the multi-rotors, like what Trevor displayed all the way through this M300, 45-50 minutes is a really good day in terms of endurance. So there's limitations if you're starting to talk about really large fields. There's a lot of battery swaps that are involved in order to be able to cover that. So then transitioning into these fixed wings where you're starting to see at least an hour and a half and upwards gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you can integrate different sensors. This is this platform here, we actually use it for our flight and operations degree program. We have a bachelor's degree in aviation technology, which prepares students for end-to-end elements of UAS operations. And this is one of the platforms that they fly their junior year. Now we can integrate sensors onto this and fly for a couple of hours doing crop inspections. One of the disadvantages of the fixed wings is they fly a little bit faster. So if you think about things like using LiDAR technology, you've got to be really careful and deliberate about how you plan that out. Either you fly faster and increase your number of passes over so that you can pull everything together, or you can try to fly a little bit slower and get things in a quicker pass, or without the same amount of overlap that you would otherwise have to get. But the reason we bought all of these out here is because we are not agronomists. We consider ourselves subject matter experts in the UAS operations and the regulatory side, and we love to collaborate. So if you have a need as you're transitioning into larger fields or things like that, we would love to have conversations about how we can support you. For some of the other things, we know that as Trevor demonstrated, the operation itself is not the complex part, and we don't. We want to do anything that we can to help you succeed. If you're interested in operations and you're not there yet, we'd love to be able to help you get there. But what we're really interested in is taking these latest types of technology and figuring out how we can support. I mean, this is a university mission, right? And so we want to be able to support global foods and digital agriculture. I mean, there's a lot of intersection here, and so we're just looking forward to opportunities to explore collaboration.
Excellent. Excellent. AJ, yes. Thank you. Thanks, Kurt.
I just want to very quickly say that this is truly a collaborative, right? Because it seems like when we started working, so there are elements about properly selecting the camera you need, the resolution you need, the altitude you want to fly out, knowing how many pixel arrays are there which are of high quality, where to extract it, the process to extract that rapidly. You don't want to sit there and continue drawing those transects for hours and hours at every flight. Then you need the right person, people from statistics and spatial analysis component, and then does it make sense from an agronomic response standpoint as well? And people like Trevor who can help in terms of how can we avoid all those mistakes in terms of stitching those things. So if I'm saying this is transdisciplinary or a collaborative thing, it is truly a transdisciplinary collaborative thing. Some things we have done on making these put our own custom sensors, custom data. We have developed a little kind of a image localization and orientation package. Can give you very high resolution orientation of the platform, and it can tag the image with GPS RTK data. We have some GNSS receivers from Topcon. We collaborate with a Canadian company who is developing radios, and then we use their ground RTK systems to do that. So it's pretty fancy stuff. Sometimes it's just for joy, and sometimes it just starts to add more value. But that sensor is giving you orientation with yaw, pitch and roll. It is tagging your thermal image. It can trigger your color camera at a known distance, which is RTK. So I think that is where it is truly collaborative, right? So it's just not saying that, but there are a lot of components. If you miss any component in that part, you're probably going to be in trouble, in terms of really getting the value out of it. So
I think at the point of what Trevor mentioned before, stay organized is critical. We have been flying in the past some of the different drones, and then one of the key factors was making sure that you have a list of steps. We follow the list, and then another component that we are collaborated in the past a lot, and we continue to do some collaborations with computer science. A lot of work working on the machine vision side, looking at images. For example, when you're looking at the row canopy that Trevor was showing us, how do you develop like an algorithm that they can detect the rows automatically? And then we have automatic row detection, working with the people from computer science. And in the past, we were also measuring the gaps, trying to automatically detect and measuring gaps. What Brian was highlighting this point of, when we want to understand if we are working in a farmer field, if the planter is not performing well, we need to blame AJ many times. But if the planter is performing well or optimum, I mean, one of the things that we still wanted to know is, measure the gaps and trying to quantify what is the overall impact in a farmer field, the gap at the end of the season, right? If you are missing some of these plants. Here is some of the things I think that Trevor is pointing there. So you could go inside, you can see exactly another point that Brian mentioned very lightly, but I think that is important for many farmers all the time, and Anita is here, can mention on this, covering the canopy, making sure that you close the canopy. If you're still seeing sections of the field that they didn't close, that means opportunity for weeds to come up and hard to control. Number one challenge for farmers, anytime that you ask, weed control. So unless you close the canopy, unless you have that crop basically covering the entire section, you still will have challenges of weeds coming any point in the season, okay? And that's something that we don't need. I mean, those are things that we can assess. The greenness is another factor. In this case, using RGB, if you look at also multispectral, you will start looking at maybe other bands, like a near infrared or different type of bands, and then you will start seeing if sections of the field will have problems. Do you have any deficiency? And then I always say this because it's important even for the agronomy people, but I think that it's relevant for everyone, is a collaboration. We need multiple people working together, and this doesn't replace any agronomist or any statistician or anything. Basically, this is telling us where to go. It's making us more efficient on scouting, but it doesn't replace the need of going to the field, selecting exactly the area that you need to go, and making sure that you do scouting. Okay, so your scouting is more precise. Okay, that's the main point that we want to emphasize all the time. Is like same happens when we discuss our satellite data. I mean, satellite data is awesome. It's becoming much better, higher resolution, more bands, but it doesn't replace the need of going to the field and trying to understand exactly what's going on. If you can have different in greenness coming from deficiency, you can have a difference in the color coming from defoliation, insects. You can have difference coming from weed problems, I mean infestations that are basically affecting the plant and producing some drought. So there are different situations impact, I mean, that you will see many potential problems. I mean, and some of the images that Brian showed before, in some of these you might be able to see some of the defoliation. But again, if you really want to understand what's going on, again, going back to the field, scouting is one of the main priorities. And I think that one of the things that this technology is awesome is because it helps us to be really selective and efficient. All what we are seeing here today, I mean, people from Salina came here specifically to showcase UIS, Spencer from the College of Education, on the Center of Rural Studies, Anita, Brian, everyone here working on multiple departments, Trevor on colleges, coming together and trying to rethink how we move forward. Because machines can get systematic, they are excellent on doing what they do, but we need to start training people that they think out of the box. And they can start integrating, as Trevor explained really well, he started thinking about, I'm good on how to make the flights, but now I need to know why I'm collecting the data. So I need to learn more about the statistics. I need to talk to a statistician and make sure that he understands me. And I need to then go back and talk to an entomologist and make sure that I'm making sense of what the statistician is telling me to do. And this is our challenge moving forward, is really thinking about education, extension and research, and training people that will have these possibilities of communicating, integrating across multiple disciplines. This is what is the main goal of this idea of this project. And this is what we want to start doing more research showcase, because there are a lot of things, opportunities, people working on campus already taking the lead. And we want to just to make sure that for the students and the community start seeing opportunities for them to say, oh, I can play a role here. I mean, and there are multiple opportunities at the university of doing more of these collaborations. I think that with that, I will just keep it open. We have 10, 15 minutes or as much as you want. There is water, food, cookies. Just if you want to go around, talk to people, here is an excellent opportunity. We haven't had a meeting like this before. So this is the first research showcase on technology focus. And it's excellent because I can tell you that we have most of the drone users and experts here on campus. So I think that is an excellent opportunity for many of the students, faculty, people to connect, to discuss, and to make sure that we just exchange some ideas. I think that the main goal is to, as AJ was also saying, is expand our collaborations and then see if we can help people. With that, I will just close, and then I think that we can go around the tables. AJ, I mean, you can showcase some of the things that we have there. Ryan, I have a few questions here because I'm more intrigued about this this drone, so I will probably just stick around there.
Yeah, so in thinking about the format, right, really we're trying to give you enough time to, as much as we want to hear from everybody, I think we want to make connections as well. So we want to leave at least enough time in here for you to be able to, if something sparked an interest, to go find some people, introduce yourself, especially students, right? If you have some ideas, you want to make those connections, like we're giving you time to do that. So we encourage you to still stick around. We still have time. But in terms of like how this is moving forward, if you have ideas for maybe future 1-hour sessions, feel free to email anybody here that's that's been up here talking. Again, we're trying to get some momentum here. And part of that is just giving you time to meet somebody new, think about your work in maybe a different light. With that, we'll be around answering questions. Trevor will be up here if you have some specifics about the data, or just don't drool on AJ's stuff. He made a specific comment earlier not to drool on his drones, or his thermal goggles. Those are pretty cool. Okay, the rest of the time is yours. So we hope you stick around, make some connections. There's also lots of food, like lots of snacks and water. So if you haven't had any lunch yet, get your sugar fed over there. So great, thank you all. Look forward to interacting with you more over the next several months. Cool, thank you all.